Hi, I'm Eva, Adam's friend. Classical liberalism is often given a hostile attitude towards religion. Are classical liberals anti-religious? We will talk about that today. When the feudal system was disintegrating in Europe in the 18th century, classical liberals actually came into conflict with the church, the monarchy, and the nobility. Their aim, however, was not to destroy these ancient institutions, only to put an end to their privileged status. Royal absolutism should have been limited by the Constitution. The wealth of the nobility should have been based on entrepreneurship and the ability to succeed in the market, not on hereditary privileges or forced labor of peasants. And the church was to pursue its believers by focusing on spiritual things, not the pursuit of worldly power. Classical liberalism is a secular doctrine that speaks of an arrangement of earthly institutions that will lead to the highest possible degree of freedom, prosperity, personal self-fulfillment, and peaceful cooperation among men. It does not pretend to pronounce on spiritual matters. It knows nothing of what happens after death or what takes place at the end of history. Classical liberalism leaves the answers to these questions entirely in the hands of the various churches and religious systems. Classical liberalism merely demands respect for life, liberty, and private property. Nevertheless, liberalism is not blind to morality, which is also the subject of the religion. Many classical liberals are aware of the overlap between the core values of classical liberalism and some of the religious moral values, such as the Ten Commandments and the rules of a free society. This has led to fruitful mutual discussion and enrichment over the past decades, because the basic principles of a free society cannot survive if they are not embedded in the culture and traditions of any country. Nor can the defense of freedom, private property, and entrepreneurship be based solely on numbers and utilitarian arguments, because these basic elements of a free society have an important moral dimension. True classical liberals support freedom of conscience and religion and recognize the positive contribution of churches to the lives of citizens. However, since we live in a pluralistic society, they reject a state-enforced monopoly of a single church or a cartel of several churches to which believers of other faiths or non-believers are required by law to contribute. The financial separation of churches from the state advocated by classical liberals, which is present in some states, is not intended to destroy these religious organizations. According to classical liberals, churches that actively seek to care for their believers, to meet their spiritual needs, are supposed to earn their income from private funds or collections. And as a result, they are freer to criticize the mischief that goes on in the sphere of politics and state power, on which they could be financially dependent. Classical liberalism is therefore not opposed to church or religion, as long as their proclamation respects the basic classical liberal values: life, liberty, and private property. See you again. Bye.